Welcome to Inside Your Head. This is Nasty Neil, and I'm joined by soap opera legend of One Life to Live, Bold and the Beautiful, and Passions, and producer of the new documentary, Rocking the Couch, Andre Evrenos. It's very cool to have you here.
Well, thank you. It's very cool to be here.
Good. So how did the documentary come about, and how early on were you involved?
Well, I was involved from the very beginning. The way it came about is I was having coffee with my good friend, Min Collins, who happens to be one of the other executive producers and the director of the documentary. And we've been good friends since I worked for him as an actress. He was in a film called Hit List about 7 years ago. And we've been, fast friends ever since. So we were having coffee together, as we are wont to do. And the whole Weinstein thing and Cosby thing were kind of at a peak in the news or whatever. And I remember we kind of just both said something like, somebody's going to make a great documentary about this. And we just kind of looked at each other and we're like, let's do this. Mm-hmm. And we did.
Yeah. So how long had you known Min? I know you said you worked as an actor, but I'm sorry.
Yes, we met when he was directing and producing this project called Hit List. And actually, we met right before production because for some reason, I was hesitant about taking the role at the time, and he wanted to meet with me to talk to me about it. So we did, and we just hit it off, and he was right. The role was perfect for me. It was a wonderful working experience, and we've just been friends ever since.
Mm-hmm. So the people that are involved in the documentary, how did you get them involved? Were the people you already knew, or did you get the word out that you're making the documentary?
A lot of them were people I already knew. We decided to reach out, both Min and I, to people that we knew to see if they wanted to tell their stories. We basically knew pretty much everybody would have some kind of story. So, but we approached and said, if you have a story about this and you would like to tell your story, we would love to have you. And then during the process of that, we started doing interviews. And then my husband came to me and told me, there was this story in the 1990s. Not this story, but this actual happening of these actresses that took this talent agent to court and won. And I'm like, what? I've never heard of this story. And so we then started doing research about it and tracking down all the people involved. And that kind of became the centerpiece of our whole documentary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is weird that's a story. I never heard of it until I was watching the movie. And do you think it's just because it was so prevalent that no one really talked about it, or why do you think things like that never really got out?
Yeah, I was certainly in the business of the 90s in Hollywood when this happened, and I knew nothing about it. I don't know why. Apparently it started to get a little national attention, and then it just stopped, and then you never heard about it again. And I think just a difference of times. I think, there's been a shift, in a societal shift, where we are now paying more attention to these things. Maybe it's social media, maybe it's just a progression of people and how we feel about these issues. But right now it seems to be the time to bring these issues to a head and to talk about them. In the 90s, it was still too early. I think we were still judging the victim more than the perpetrator. Mm-hmm. And I think that's changed.
Yeah. Now, since it's your first feature that you produced, right?
Correct.
So, what was it about it that you decided, this is something that a project I'd like to produce?
Well, I had been wanting to produce, and I had told Min that I wanted to, just explore that end of the business. I'm one of these actors who's really never done anything else. I don't really. Like nothing else for a living. I didn't wait on tables or anything like that. And I was just curious to try it out. And when we came up with the idea for this project, it just seemed natural to do it together. So I just kind of threw myself into it and started.
Yeah. Is this something you'd like to continue to do?
Oh, yeah. I truly enjoy it. It was kind of interesting to be the boss. Never had that experience before. So, it was cool. And I really enjoyed it. I also think it was a good lesson for my daughter to see. As a mother of a daughter, I like her to see me grow and expand professionally and see something I'm interested in, go after it. I think that's a very valuable lesson for young women to learn. And I just enjoyed it. So yeah, I want to do more. I mean, acting is my main gig. I love it. I've never stopped loving it. I'm not doing this to replace it. It's just another thing to add to the resume, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah. So, what do you think it is about the world of Hollywood movies, TV, that makes this such a problem?
Well, we go into that a bit in the documentary, but I think a lot of the reason is, if you want to be a lawyer, there are certain steps you have to follow to become a lawyer. You have to graduate college, then take the LSAT, then go to law school, then pass the bar. Or, if you want to be a doctor, there's being an intern and residency and all these other things. There's usually a path on how to get to where you want to be in your career, or to find a place in that career for yourself, whether it's interning or whatever. In the arts and the entertainment industry in particular, there's no path. I can't tell you how to do it. I can't tell somebody else how to do it. They have to find their own way. And I think, unfortunately, that leads to a lot of bad situations, like that we hear from, that we've heard in this movie, and we've heard in other stories. There's all it takes is somebody who's really ambitious and wants to get ahead, doesn't know how to get ahead, and somebody tells them, "Hey, I'll help you. This is what you have to do." And I think because of the very nature of the entertainment business, it's just prime for that kind of problem.
Mm-hmm. I thought the documentary was really was fair because it showed a lot of different sides too. Because they talked to a young producer who said, he's had women, offer themselves to him. So it shows, how the temptation's there, and
right.
And there's different levels of this, because obviously certain things are like illegal and immoral, but then there's some things that are more of a gray area.
Well, you touch on two things about the movie that we thought were essential to include. One, we thought it was essential to include a criminal defense attorney, somebody to lay out exactly the differences. Because I don't know about you, but myself as a lay person, I would constantly use the wrong term for sexual abuse, sexual assault, sexual harassment. They're all different things. And it's very important to be clear on which one you are talking about. The other part that we thought was important, you mentioned Pratash Shah, who we bring in there. We also bring in Carrie Mitchum, who's Robert Mitchum's granddaughter, who's, because of her pedigree, her family has been in this industry since forever. And their purpose was kind of to talk about how it really is. Because I do think, when the whole Weinstein thing broke and you had these A-list actors on there saying, "Oh my gosh, no, I had no idea." Well, that's a lie. Anybody who has worked in the entertainment industry has seen this happen, knows it exists. It was just kind of woven into the fabric of the industry. That doesn't mean you approve of it, but it was certainly there. And there are people that are willing to make an exchange. That's not who we're talking about. In our documentary, we are talking about the people who are not willing to make that exchange and what happens to them. And but in order to understand that, you also have to express the whole story, the whole truth about it. Yeah.
And the fact that there are people willing to do that exchange, it makes it hard for people who aren't, because then they have an unfair advantage.
Right. It muddies the water about what's acceptable and what is not. It also probably bolsters the courage of the perpetrators, because they can get away with it here and there, and so why can't they get away with it here? Somebody's going to say no to them. So yeah, it has a negative effect all the way around. But there are always going to be those people, and there are people who have made their careers that way. Those people aren't going to be telling you that, but there are people that have gotten breaks because of that. That is wholeheartedly true.
And it's it's something that, like, even someone who's not in show business at all, they know the term casting couch, and they can even reference it in older movies. It'd almost be like a joke, presented as something, depending on the movie, almost something you'd laugh about. So it is something that if people who know about it, I'm sorry to interrupt you. People who don't know about it, who don't even have anything to do with movies, that obviously people in the business must, know a lot more.
Well, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. It was me interrupting you, by the way. And But that's another reason we wanted to do it. I remember Min and I talking about it, that, for some reason in the entertainment industry, it is the only industry that has an actual term for it, the casting couch, hence the name of our movie, Rocking the Couch. But, and if you went into a room of 100 people and you said, and mentioned the casting couch, 99 of them would know what you were talking about, and a good 50 of them would laugh. But it's not funny. And It needs to be brought out into the daylight so that couch can kind of disappear.
Yeah, it was a few years ago, I interviewed Richard Stanley, who he directed a bunch of movies. But he told me on the show, he's like, it's going to come out about Harvey Weinstein, all stuff. And he told me, a detailed story about an actress that he had in his movie, and she called him up and said he was at the door trying to let him. Said, if you don't, you'll never work again. And then she never worked again. She didn't let him in. And this was way before any of the stuff came out. And I was like, wow, so wild story. And it was just a few months after that when it all came out.
Yeah, no, we all have these stories, but social stories have changed. How we look at this has changed. I mean, I don't know how old you are, but I am certainly old enough to remember the 80s when we all thought Bill Cosby was everybody's dad.
Right.
And to hear that he is not, that he's quite the opposite is shocking. But if somebody back in like 1985 had told me that Bill Cosby was going to go to jail for this, I would have thought they were crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But, times have changed, and things change along with them.
Yeah, there was even a line in the movie someone said, there was like, on the documentary, that just because someone's famous or you think they're nice or whatever doesn't mean they are a good person.
And that's true. And I think, I think people do forget that. And as someone who is, famous or known to a lot of people come up to me and they talk to me like they know me.
Mm-hmm.
In reality, they don't know me, and luckily, I mean, I like to think I'm not a bad person, so
right.
That's okay. But there are those out there that are not what you see, are not what they are portraying, and may not be the nicest people in the world. So just because you know them from television or film or YouTube or whatever, it does not mean they're a good person.
Mm-hmm.
It's very true.
Now, you yourself, did you have any experiences with any of these things throughout your time in the soap operas or any other projects?
Well, if you'll notice, I am listed in the cast. I was filmed for it. And in films, if you do the work, you are listed in the cast, whether you are on the cutting room floor or not. To be honest, I cut myself out of the movie because my stories were just not that good.
Okay.
And I think I fall under the category which Carrie Mitchum was also talking about, that I think if you were lucky enough to become successful at a very early age, and I did with Daytime, became successful as a teenager, people really didn't pick on you so much. You weren't really a prime target for this. Or in her case, her grandfather. Nobody wanted to mess with her grandfather. So it didn't happen to her so much. It's more the people, I think, that are really vulnerable, that are trying to get some sort of footing in the business. Those are the people that usually have the biggest problems.
Mm-hmm. About soap operas, quick. What's that experience like to be, so you're on a soap, it's not like just we're on a TV show, because it's like 5 days a week. So you're this character for so long, for over, decades. Like, how close do you get to that character? And how do you keep it fresh to keep playing the same character?
But it's really great. And Daytime is really the only medium where you have this, where I was fortunate enough with, say, the character of Tina on One Life to Live. I took her from being a teenager to being a middle-aged woman. Mm-hmm. And it stays fresh because everything changes. If the character goes through those life changes the same as a regular person would go through those life changes, it does keep it fresh. It keeps it changing, and you do get very close to the characters. She's, I almost feel like these characters are my little babies, I feel very protective of them and very, and love each and every one of them for all the different things they are, because each character you play is different. But Tina will always be special because because of that opportunity. You know, that's never going to come again. And I don't know if those opportunities even exist in entertainment so much anymore. You know, so it's I loved it. I really enjoyed it. But there's a lot of enjoyment too in visiting a character for a short amount of time. You know, and taking it through that one story arc. But on soap operas, you have so many arcs. The arcs just keep coming. You know, so it's you know, I never had a problem with keeping it fresh or keeping it interesting because I was always interested in it. I just enjoy the work. I enjoy the craft and just love to do it.
Yeah. Do you think soap opera actors sometimes don't get enough credit as an actor?
Oh, absolutely. But I think a lot of time all kinds of actors don't get the credit they deserve. But I think in daytime or soap operas, I can't even call it daytime anymore because so many. I'm in one now, The Bay, which is on Amazon Prime, which is not daytime. It's prime time, but it's streaming, and you know it all changed. But a traditional soap opera actor, I think sometimes don't get enough credit. In many ways, it's the hardest that there is, you know, because you have to know your stuff. It's quick, fast, and dirty. You got to get in there, do your stuff, do the best you can, and then move on. Because that night you get a new script to work on for the next day. You don't have the luxury of spending a lot of time working on each scene.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that till you just mentioned it. Every day having, you know, instead of like a week with your script or weeks, you have the very next day you have to learn all the lines again. Yeah,
so it's a very different process. But, you know, I enjoy all the processes. I enjoy doing theater. I enjoy doing film. They're all a different process, you know, and that's one of the things I love about what I do is that it's never the same.
So you mentioned Hulu there. How has that changed in the industry where you know, they have streaming sites and, you know, Amazon just used to sell books and now there's shows on there. How has that helped or changed the life of an actor?
Well, it's kind of weird now because, you know, like you said, I have The Bay on Amazon and then I have my documentaries on Amazon. And, Amazon was where I just, you know, ordered my coffee pods before, you know. So and now they're my employer as such. But it's very different, you know, but the industry changes. And I remember, I mean, again, I've been around long enough I remember when, you know, cable came in, when people were recording things, when DVDs came in, you know, everybody's like, oh my gosh, this is going to change things so much. What's going to happen? But you know what? The entertainment, and people always want to be entertained. Yeah. So the entertainment industry is just going to evolve. And this is how it's evolving. So I embrace it. You know, it's a new process for me, but I embrace it and enjoy it and love it. And the fact that I could actually produce this documentary and get it on Amazon thrills me, you know, because now people can see that work. And I think documentaries in particular have really benefited from streaming. It used to be hard to find documentaries. You know, it would be really, really difficult to find them. Now they're all over Netflix, they're all over Amazon, and you can see really, really good documentaries. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm a documentary fan, and what you said is exactly right, because it used to be like a Michael Moore documentary would you get a theatrical release, but, you know, a lot of them wouldn't. And so maybe if you had HBO, they'd have, like, you know, a few special ones on HBO or something, but it'd be very hard to find them anywhere. And like I said, now with all the different streaming sites, because they all need content, they're readily available.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I'm a fan of film, whether it's a documentary or a fictional piece. And, you know, I can sit here at home and say, I'm in the mood for a documentary tonight. And I can go and I can check and I can find one I want to watch. It didn't used to be so easy. So, I think documentaries have definitely benefited from this, perhaps more than any other medium. Yeah,
that's a good point. It is weird to be able to watch, because it used to be if you missed like a TV show, unless you set your VCR, it was like you just didn't see it. Maybe if it got on reruns, you'd eventually see it, but now you can miss like whole seasons of shows, and I've done this, and then you know, binge watch them, and it's very strange.
Totally. Totally. I was very late to the Game of Thrones phenomenon, I must say. I didn't pay any attention to it until it was right before the final season. And I spent like the last 2 weeks or whatever binging, getting ready for the final season. That would have been impossible, even just a few years ago.
Right.
But now we're binge, and my daughter and I were huge Supernatural fans. Well, there's like 14 years or 15 years or there's seasons or something of Supernatural. I think we spent all last year binging Supernatural. It took us forever. There are 23 shows every season and like 14, 15 seasons. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
There's a lot of binging.
Yeah. I remember even when, even VHS days, like, it was easy to buy a movie, but if you want to watch a show, you'd have to get like 12 sets, just for one, season or a few episodes. And it would have been, you would have took up your whole house for a whole, 15 seasons of a show.
No, it's true, but it's a whole different thing now, and it's very enjoyable too. You don't have to wait for the next week or two for something to come out. It's right there.
Yeah. Sometimes it's weird because you get almost depressed when you're like at the last couple episodes. You're like, oh, I only got a couple more.
Oh, that's so true. After we spent like a year binging Supernatural, when we finally got up to date, we're like, oh, wow, now what do we do?
So, what made you want to become an actor? Was there? You said you love films. Was there particular films that you watch and you're like, this is something I would like to do?
You know what? It was always film and TV, and I always knew this is what I wanted to do. I just always knew. I can't tell you anything that made me think I wanted to do it. I just knew I always did. In fact, I remember being really little and my Barbie dolls. I used to reenact movies I would watch on TV on Saturdays with my Barbie and Ken dolls. I'd I remember once in particular watching an old Tarzan movie on a Saturday morning TV show in Chicago, and I remember tying thread to my Ken doll's arm, and then another thread to the little button you push on the lamp so that he could fly through the air like he does in the jungle. I loved film and television. Always did. Always knew this is what I wanted to do, and have been blessed enough to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm. Did you feel it was something that came naturally to you when you started to act?
Yeah, absolutely. Never gave it a second thought. Just did it. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you that I'm I'm not a really learned actor from lots of acting classes or anything. I just have learned along the way and love it. And like I said, it constantly thrills me to get new roles or visit old roles and find a new twist on them. It's just something I love to do.
Mm-hmm. So you said Rockin' the Couch is on Amazon. Is it on other? Is it on other platforms?
Well, I know also it's on Vimeo or Vimeo. I never know how to say that.
Yeah.
You can go there as well. And I know our distributors are in the process now of negotiating with some other platforms. But we also just went worldwide with Amazon, so we're everywhere on Amazon. And it's doing really, really well. Also, I should tell people to remember to watch The Bay on Amazon too, because I'm on that as well. So.
Yeah. What is? I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with The Bay. What is the premise of The Bay?
The Bay is a streaming soap opera, essentially. It's a streaming primetime soap opera. And, as soap operas have diminished from regular TV, they haven't disappeared. The medium's just moved into other directions, the Bay being one. And I think the show has won, 15 Emmys already.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
So it's doing really, really well. Thank you. I wasn't part of those. Technically, I just joined this past season, season 4. But I thank you anyway, because it's one of my shows, and I'm proud of it. So I hope your audience tunes into that, and definitely tunes into Rocking the Couch.
Very good. And what's the feedback been like for Rocking the Couch?
The feedback's been really good. Like if you go to Amazon, I think we're up to 50 reviews.
Oh, nice.
And about a 4.7 average rating. So it's been pretty well received.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, I dug it. Found it very interesting. It's very well made, and I really enjoyed talking to you.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed talking to you.
Cool. All right. Well, take care.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.